Hey TAK fans, AJ here with another TAK Syndicate video. This is an update to the TAK server deployment made easy video that we posted in June of 2023. That video had over 12,000 views and a lot of comments on how easy this was to getting a TAK server deployed. That original video showed the TAK server deployed on a CentOS 7 Linux distribution on a DigitalOcean virtual machine. CentOS 7 is now end of life, and the original scripts only supported up to TAK Server 4.9. I reached out to TAK Server magician Ryan Schilder, and he used some of his FM to make scripts for the Rocky 8 Linux distribution. These scripts are a mashup of work from Ryan, J.R. Glenn, and Paul Clifton. Although these scripts make deploying TAK Server really simple, I do think it's wise to get over to JR's website, mytechnet.com, to get a better understanding of what these scripts are actually doing. JR's got a great tutorial on building a TAK server 5.0 from the ground up. As a reminder, TAK server is offered in a few different installation formats at tak.gov. Docker container, Ubuntu, Raspberry Pi are all offered in addition to Red Hat and Rocky. To do this installation, you'll need to register at tak.gov and download a copy of TAK server on your local machine. You'll also need a machine to run Linux on. You can do this on a virtual machine like VirtualBox, a cloud-hosted VM, or your own local hardware. In the first video I did, which I will leave up, I did the install using DigitalOcean using their console. In this video, I'll be using a cloud-hosted VM from SSDNodes. SSDNodes has a web console just like DigitalOcean, but in this video I will use the Mac terminal and SSH in. SSD offers really great prices and has frequent sales. Let's take a look at the pricing here. I usually deploy in the standard VPS. VPS stands for Virtual Private Server, and this small KVM. KVM stands for Kernel Virtual Machine. And you can see it's $45 a year. If I hit Get Started, we'll open up a new page, and I can hit Customize Your Own Server. And then you can kind of see how this is a little bit different than deploying on DigitalOcean. This makes you do billing cycles. So you pay up front for 3 years, 1 year, or a month, where DigitalOcean you can kind of pay as you go. You can kill a virtual machine. You're not going to get charged while it's killed. You're just getting in charge while it's spun up. So that might be better if you want to just play around with this to begin with. Get on DigitalOcean, or Linode is another one that offers these virtual machines, and they do come with credits. Like DigitalOcean, just to start, will give you like $300 worth of credits just to get going. But you can see as you go down, you can choose your server location, the different operating systems. We're going to be using Rocky 8 for this one, and then these advanced options. I usually turn off this daily snapshots. I do keep IPv4 because you will want that for address, and then it doesn't cost anything to do an SSH key if you want. And so you just do that, and you can spin it up. And so you could see for a year, you're looking at $45 a year. For 3 years, $189. So it's pretty affordable. Again, you could always do this on your own hardware, or if you're a Gov, you're probably going to deploy in the Amazon Gov Cloud or in the Microsoft Azure suite. If you're using a cloud-hosted VM, I really recommend using an FTP client like FileZilla for transferring the files from your computer to the virtual machine. It just makes life so much easier. Let's close out this web page and let's go to the taksyndicate.org. I now have a dedicated section with an instructional for TAK server deployment. You can see up top here. At the top of the page, I've got, this is the old video, but by the time you're seeing this, the new video will be up here. And it shows the instructional on how to deploy for Rocky 8. This is similar if you watch my old video and use the other instructions. I used to have a README file that you would download and then copy and paste from there. But now I've got copy buttons, so all you have to do is hit this copy text and it'll go to your clipboard, and then you can copy it and paste it right into the command line. All right, let's scroll back up and go to the top of the page and go through the instructional. All right, this is written for Rocky 8. The first thing you do is download TAK server. I've already gone onto tak.gov and downloaded that. Next, you need to get these scripts and the data package master folder. So the scripts live in a couple different places. You can go to maps.takserver.us, which goes to my Google Drive. You can go to the resources page and then click on TAK server and takes you to the same spot. Or you can go right here in this TAK server page, and they're all right here. And then you can just download them directly. So let's do that. All right, we'll click on the little arrow here. It's going to go back to this Google Drive. We're going to hit download for this TAK server scripts. It will zip it all up and download it. And then we're also going to download the master server name folder structure. Download that as well. All right, it's all downloaded, and we can close these out. And let's go to our Finder. And I keep this folder called TAK kind of anchored in my favorites. This is where I keep all my TAK server files, TAK server install files. You can see I've already downloaded the TAK server 5.0 release 69. I put it here. It just helps me keep organized. So I'll go back to my downloads. We're going to move this master server name folder structure up to the TAK and move the TAK server scripts up there as well. And now they're all here. Under this TAK server folder, I like to keep folders for each TAK server I deploy. This one we're going to call SSDTAK. So I've got that already named. And let's take a look what's inside this TAK server scripts folder. You can see I've got two subfolders, one for the old CentOS 7, the old one, and then the scripts. If I open it up, I've got 6 scripts here. A script ends in .sh, so you know there's the scripts. And then you see I've got this Rocky 8 instructions folder. In here, I actually have instructions in a text file if you really want to follow it that way and copy and paste. And I also have this enroll TAK server client cert PDF. If you open that up, this is good to email to anybody that's going to use enrollment. How are they going to enroll with the TAK server? And so this makes it real easy for them to follow. So close that out. Another thing while we've got this Rocky 8 scripts folder open is we want to make sure that the install script matches the TAK server version we're using and the release version. Right now you can see it says RL 8.9. That stands for Rocky Linux 8.9. That's not a big deal. That's not a big deal at all. What you want to make sure is this TAK5 R69, that you're using one that's using TAK server version 5, release 69. So this actually can be called whatever you want. Yes, you want to make sure it matches, but it's what's inside the script that really matters. So we're going to open with a text edit. And so we're going to scroll down a little bit. And right here, where it says install server 5.0 release 69. So where it says sudo dnf install this TAK server, this was built to run 410 or TAK server 5.0. We're using TAK server 5.0 release 69. Let's say you were using TAK server 5.0 release 70. Well, then you want to make sure that you would edit this and put release 70. This is calling out the name of the file. If I scroll back come back to my iTAK folder, you can see in my iTAK server install folder, I've got this iTAK server 5.0 release 69.noaarch.rpm. That is the exact same thing that's right here. This is what has to match. This iTAK server release right here and right here. All right, now let's move on. Now let's go to the master server name folder structure. In here, I've got the auto enroll data package format. So where it says place stress store intermediate ca.p12 here, that's just a text file. You're going to actually delete that. That's just saying, hey, when we're done building this iTAK server, you're going to put this file here. And then it's got this config pref, which we'll go through later, but we can open it up with the text editor. And in here, we're going to edit some things. So if you're using a data package to enroll, we're going to have to go and edit the iTAK server information in here. And there's also a manifest file that you also use a text editor for to edit. We'll go through all this later on in this video to show you how to edit this stuff. But I just want to show you what's in all these folders. And I also have one called cert files. This is where I like to keep the certificate files for each iTAK server. So I'll move this into the SSD-TAK folder right now. So that is for this iTAK server. All right, so now we can close the Finder window. So now let's go back to the instructional. All right, we've already downloaded iTAK server. We've downloaded the instructions, we've downloaded the scripts, and that data package master folder. So now we want to launch our local or our virtual machine and get into the command line interface. So I said I was using SSDNodes. So you can see if I click on my SSDNodes machine, I've got this machine up and running. It's you can see it's running here, Rocky 8. The description is Rocky 8 scripts. I've killed this and restarted this machine a bunch of times, testing these scripts out. So it's got a fresh install right now. It's good to go. You can see I've got my IPv4 address here and then password. What's nice is I can copy and paste this back and forth to FileZilla or any other applications where I need to get this IP address or password, like into my SSH client. All right, let's go back to the iTAK syndicate instructions. And we can see that we got to launch our virtual machine and get to the command line interface. Again, in my first video I did, I used DigitalOcean. If you're using DigitalOcean, refer to that first video. You can follow along. If you're using SSH, then you can SSH in. I'm going to be using a Mac. I'm going to be using the SSH app that comes with it. If you're using Windows 11, they have it now, boxed up with it, called Windows Terminal. Previous editions of Windows, you had to use a third-party SSH client. By all means, you can use whatever SSH client you want. All right, so now let's launch Terminal. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to resize it. I'm going to put Terminal up top. I'm going to put my browser window down below. And now I'm going to SSH in, or called Secure Shell. So I'm going to SSH. I'm going to go root, because that's the root user at. And now I need the IP address. So I can go back here to SSDNodes. I can hit copy. I hit paste. And then I have to get this key fingerprint done the first time. I hit yes. And now it's asking for the password. Copy password. And now I'm in. Now let's go back to the iTAK syndicate instructions. And the first thing I'm going to do is create a new username, iTAK. So I'm going to hit copy text, paste. And now we're going to set the password. Copy the text there. And I even provide the password for it, which is iTAK. So we're going to put that in. And then it's going to give you that error saying it's a bad password. Not a big deal. Paste again. And you can see that was successful because it says all authentication tokens updated successfully. This also created, like I said, it created this user in iTAK called iTAK, and it'll have an iTAK folder under the home folder. That'll be more important in a few steps when we get in with FileZilla and start getting into the machine. All right, now when you want to make the iTAK user a pseudo user, meaning it can execute these kind of higher level commands, hit copy text, paste. And now we want to switch from the root user to the iTAK user. And now we've done that. You can see we've gone from the iTAK user, from the root user to the iTAK user. Now we need to copy the scripts and TAK server RPM files into the iTAK folder via an FTP client. I like to use FileZilla. I'll open that up. And you can see that started where it says local site. This is my TAK folder. So this is where the scripts are, the install stuff, and my TAK servers. On the right is the remote site. That's where we're going to get into. So upper left, you've got my connections here. We're going to call it a new site, and we're going to call this SSDTAK. And we're going to change this to SFTP, and we need that IP address. So we can go back down here into the SSDNodes. We can hit copy. We're going to put that in the host here. And the login type will be normal. The user is called root. And we need the password, which we can go back and copy this. And then you can hit OK, and it's going to save that. So now we can go back, SSDTAK, and just hit connect. Each time, the first time you connect, it's going to add this host key. Just hit update cache key for this host, hit OK. And now we are connected to this server. So let's click the main directory here. And we're going to scroll down to home. And now you can see we have this iTAK user that we created. What we want to do is move over the TAK server scripts, these Rocky 8 scripts, over to this folder. Remember I said it's 6 scripts. Here are the 6 scripts. And we're just going to drag those over. And it's going to start uploading those. The other thing we need is the TAK server install. This is that TAK server 5.0 release 69, and we're going to drag that over. Now this can take some time depending on your internet connection, so if it's slow or fast. So we'll let this go and then we'll catch back up. Alright, you can see that the TAK server RPM file is now over in the home iTAK folder. Alright, now we can minimize our FileZilla, and now we can go back to the TAK server instructions, and we've copied everything over. So now we're going to get the iTAK folder. We've got to get to the iTAK folder where all the scripts are. So we're going to do this command here. And now we're going to queue up the TAK server install. And now we need to enter the password for the iTAK user. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to execute. And now it's going to install iTAK server. All right, the first user prompt is going to ask for the iTAK user password when it installs Java 17. And then there's a second user prompt that comes up. And, this is going to take some time. So usually about 9 minutes till it gets to that first user prompt. So I'm going to let this thing run and we'll catch back up. We got to the first user prompt. It's about 9 minutes. It's asking for the password to install Java 17. We're going to hit copy text. Next prompt will be to install a package. We'll just answer yes. This comes up pretty quick. All right, it took a little longer than I remember. It took about 5 minutes. But second prompt, we want to hit yes, install this package. And now third prompt, we're just going to hit 1 to keep the current selection. The next step, we'll start configuring those certificates. You can enter whatever you want. Capitals. One thing that you'll want to remember is that when we start entering these certificates in Firefox, they'll list certificate by the org name. So that's something that makes sense for you to remember. But you'll put your state, city, organization, and organization unit. All right, so I'm just going to put CA, enter, bar. Here I just put iTAK user. So if you put, but you can put whatever you want. The next thing is ask you to do to answer yes to move the files around. That's for the intermediate signing certificate of authority. So give it a second here, and it's going to ask for that prompt. Yes. And now it's going to do a 90-second countdown before it configures the intermediate certificate of authority for use. And after that, we'll restart the iTAK server and then shut down for another 120 seconds. So I'll stop recording and we'll catch back up when we're done. All right, so we had the iTAK server restart for 90 seconds, and then it's configuring some more stuff, and then it's gonna go ahead and sleep for 120 seconds before it allows to promoting the admin cert to an administrator level. And now we can see that was successful. Admin is now the role admin, and then it wants the password for iTAK. So we can hit copy text. And now you're done. You have now deployed your iTAK server. And so what's happened so far is your firewall is now configured for TCP connections on these ports. You have, and you need to get the admin P12 into your browser. I like to use Firefox. We'll show you how to do that. And we need to get this intermediate trust store file also onto your local
computers. So if you want to build a data package for connections with iTAK, and we'll show you how to do that. And so these files are in your opt TAK cert files folder. The admin P12 was also put into that iTAK folder where we dropped all of those certs. So we're going to open up FileZilla, go grab those files and bring them on to the machine. So let's go back to FileZilla and just do a little refresh. It's going to re-hit the server, and we want to go to just this TAK folder, and then we're going to go to TAK servers, and we're going to go to SSD TAK, and in here the cert files is where I like to put these. So we're going to go over here, we want to grab this admin P12, and we can rename it. Doesn't have to be what the TAK server names it. I call it Alta admin, and we'll call this SSD TAK. Rename it, and we'll drop it in here, and it transfers it over. And then we also need to go grab that TrustStore file. So when I go up, we're going to scroll down to opt, TAK, certs, files, and we want the intermediate TrustStore file. There it is. And we're going to bring that over as well. So the first thing let's do is get our TAK server up and running. So we'll go ahead and minimize FileZilla. Let's open up Firefox. All right. And what we need to do is go over to the settings, so gear icon, manage more settings, and search for cert. And then we're going to view the certificates. And we're going to go ahead and import that certificate from SSD TAK. We're going to go to cert files, and we're going to do this admin SSD TAK P12. It's going to ask for the password, which is iTAK, and we're going to hit OK. Now, if you want to view that certificate, remember before I said it lists it by the org name. So I had it under LE for law enforcement. And if I click on it, you can see it's got that. Remember, I put US as a country, state, CA, locality was Corona, organization was LE for law enforcement, organization unit was SWAT. Okay, but we can get out of there, hit OK. And now we're going to get into the TAK server. So we're going to go to HTTPS : / and then we need the IP address. So if we go back to SSDNodes, we'll hit copy. I'm going to paste that in here. And then we're going to hit :8443. That'll get us to the web console for the TAK server. It's going to give you this potential security risk ahead. That's okay. We're going to hit advanced. And we're going to accept the risk and continue. If you want to view the certificate, this is the certificate that we just uploaded. And there it is. So we can hit accept risk and continue. Hit OK. Hit OK again. And there is our TAK server. It's up and running. And this usage will pop down.
All right, now we've got the TAK server user interface up in front of us on the web. You can see that it shows the server start time, how long it's been up and running, how many clients are connected. Right now you can see it says 0. CP usage, etc., etc. Now we want to add a user to the attack server. So we're going to go up to the hamburger menu here on the upper right. You're going to click on that, and then we're going to go to Administrative, Manage Users. And this is where you're going to manage users, add bulk users. You can see we already have this admin user here. And there's a couple different ways to do this. You could add one user at a time, or you can add multiple users. If you wanted to add multiple users, if you wanted to do, say, fire, and then you added n like this, and if you started n with 1 and ended with 10, you would get fire 1 through 10. And so you can do these bulk users. It is going to give you multiple independent passwords for each user, so you'd have to go back in. What I like to do is, if I do that, go back in and then change it to a common password for all of them, and then email each user their password. So that's just one way to do it. But we're just going to add one user right now. We're going to call this user test1, and then we're going to add a password. Now it will tell you what the password requirements are, and you can see that there. And we're going to just call this password attack server hashtag iTAK1, and we're not going to cover groups right now. I'll do another video on that, but if you want to understand groups better, you can go over to JR's website, mytechnet.com, and he's got a whole section on managing users and groups in TAK. Really explains how it all works. In essence, you can have people in different groups. Some groups can see other people, so on and so forth. So you can kind of control the filtering, if you will, of who sees what. So right now we're just going to create this new user. They'll automatically get set to the anon group. So hit create new user. I'm not going to save this. And so now let's look at this test1 user. And you can see that they are in the anon group, meaning any data they send will go to anon group, and any data that goes to the anon group will also go to them. So it's going both directions. But this is if you wanted to change the password, you could do this here as well. I mentioned doing those bulk users. You could go into each bulk user, start and change their password to a common password. All right, well, I'm going to hit cancel. And now we're going to go back to the computer or machine and build a data package for connection. One thing I want to cover for the connecting clients to the TAK server is there's a couple different ways to do it. If we go back to JR's website, he's got a section on creating data packages for TAK configuration and enrollment. So you can create data package to enroll users into to enroll TAK clients, or you can also use certificate enrollment. We're going to cover both of those methods here and kind of the difference between them. But as you scroll through this, JR covers a bunch of different stuff on auto enrollment. You can also create it so when someone enrolls in your TAK server that they can get sent specific files, so on and so forth. We're just going to do a very basic enrollment connection where they're not going to get this specific map sent to them. They're just going to connect to the TAK server. We're going to do it a couple different ways. With the fully qualified domain name, also going to do it with just the IP address and a data package. And I'll walk you through all that right now. So let's minimize Firefox. And we're going to open up our TAK folder. And we're going to get to our SSD TAK folder and that master server name folder structure. And we're going to open up this auto enroll data package folder. And I'm also going to hit up file, new. Let's open our new Finder window. because there's some files I want to move around. All right, let's get these right next to each other. And we want to look at these cert files. So this is in the this is the admin cert and the truststore immediate ca.p12 certificate that that we downloaded from the server. We did that admin one so we could connect through Firefox to the TAK server so we could administer it. But right now we need this file right here, this truststore immediate ca. And if you look at my folder here, let's put them right on top of each other, easier to see. So we can see this folder, and you can see we have this text file that says place the truststore immediate ca -p12 here. So that's all we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and take this file and we're going to copy it and we're going to paste it here. And now we don't need this text file any longer. We can go ahead and send that to trash. And we're going to move this up. We want to move this out of the manifest folder. And it is. I just wanted to make sure that it's not in the manifest folder. So now we've got the truststore immediate-ca p12 file in here. Now we need to edit this config pref file. We can minimize the cert folder or actually close it all together. And you can see if we look at this config pref file, the things that we need to edit are the description of the TAK server. So when someone opens it in iTAK, this is what the TAK server will be called. You can name it whatever you want. Let's go ahead and call it SSDTAK. And the next thing we're going to edit is right here where it says IP address or fully qualified domain name. That's what FQDN means. So if you register this as, let's say, swat.tactical.net, then you could have that there, or whatever your IP address is. And we'll cover that in the next step. For the first thing we're going to do, though, is just use the IP address. So we're going to do that now. And we're going to go back to SSDNodes to grab that. So let's go to my servers, and here it is. And here's the IP address. We can minimize this. And we're going to paste that right here. I'll go ahead and delete. We'll paste that right here. One thing you want to make sure is that you don't have any characters you've deleted, so on and so forth. This will drive you nuts if you accidentally do it. So it should be the IP address and then this colon and then port 8089. All right. And from here on out, this is good. We can close this. Next thing we're going to open up is the manifest. Let's open that up with the text editor. And in the manifest, it is looking at this config pref file, and it's also looking at the truststore right here. So it's got both of those files in here. And what we need to do is make sure in the manifest that we have it match the name of this zip file. So what we're going to do is take all these files and zip it up. So we want to make sure that it's named appropriately. So we're going to call this SSD pack.zip, and we're going to save it. You want to make sure that matches. So SSD, all capitals, -tac, that's it. All right. So now you need to zip all these files up. I'm using a Mac, so I like to use UmuZip. One thing you want to make sure when you're using Mac is to use, I'm going to show you here when dropping in there, use the PC format. So we're going to take all of these files right here and just drag it in here. We want to use as PC. We're going to save it here in this folder, and we're going to call this SSD -TAK, just like we said it was, and hit OK. And now it's going to compress it, and now we've got this SSD TAK.zip. And that is your auto enroll data package to import into iTAK. What that's going to do when you import it, it's going to configure the trust store, it's going to configure the IP address where it's going to look to connect to, and all you have to do is enter your username and password. So what I'm going to do is upload that on the Google Drive now, and then I'm going to import that on my iTAK device, and that's what we'll cover next. So you can get it to your iTAK device anyway. I'm going to use Google Drive, but you could email that to someone, use OneDrive, whatever method. You could put it on a thumb drive for for convenience, but you're going to use that to connect these iTAK clients. This will also work for WinTAK as well. All right, now we got iTAK open, and now we're going to import that data package that connects us to the TAK server, where we'll be prompted to put our username and password. So I've opened Google Drive on this device, and I've downloaded that SSD-TAK zip file, which is a data package for connection, onto my downloads folder. Now I need to get it into iTAK. The easiest way is to use the import tool. So upper right, hamburger menu, we're going to scroll down, we're going to look for import. We're going to hit local SD, hit date, and you can see that SSD-TAK zip is there. I'm going to hit OK. And now it's prompting me for my username and password. Do not want to use my autofill with LastPass. So remember, it was test1, and password was TAK server hashtag iTAK1, and you can show password. We got that all right. Hit OK. And now you can see TAK server registration has succeeded. Hit OK. You notice above my call sign on the right, I've got this green circle icon next to it with the TAK logo. If I click on that, it will show that I am connected to the TAK server. So that is how you can use an auto enrollment data package to connect with iTAK. So next, we're going to show you how to do connection with a fully qualified domain name. Now let's go back to my computer. We're going to log in to SSH into the SSDNode virtual machine and do some scripts to get that all set up. All right, we're back on the computer. I'm on the TAK Syndicate TAK server instructions. And we just finished creating this data package for connection to a TAK server that's using an IP address. And so the next thing we're going to do is now use Let's Encrypt to allow the TAK server to use a public-facing domain. So we need to launch terminal, and we need to SSH into our TAK server. So we are going to need our IP address. So we're going to go SSH. We're just going to be root at, and then our IP address. And we need to get rid of this auto enroll data package, get rid of that. And let's go back to Chrome and copy the password. All right, and now we're in. So let's go ahead and bring up the instructions here. Let's do like we did before. Let's go ahead and bring this up, and we'll bring this down. and have the instructions here. All right, so now we need to get to this iTAK folder. So before we get to this iTAK folder, since we stopped that SSH connection, we do need to go ahead and switch users to the iTAK user. So let's go ahead and go up here and go to iTAK. All right. And now we want to let's do this again. We should be in the home folder already, but just for good measure, let's follow this. All right, and now we want to copy, queue up the script. And now it wants the password for iTAK. All right, and now we want to execute the script. Now it's executing the script. So there's going to be a series of prompts. It's going to ask you for an email where let's encrypt and get a hold of you. Sometimes that fails. I'll get a message back. I wouldn't worry about it. I always get messages from Let's Encrypt. This in case it does expire. This is going to also run another job on here that is going to auto renew your script or your Let's Encrypt credentials every month. So yeah, you agree. The next one is agreeing to the terms of service, sharing your email, yes or no, and your domain name. And we're going to cover that right now. So wherever your domain is handled is where you're going to do this. So whatever service you're using. So we're going to go GoDaddy.com and we're going to My Products and we're going to go to tactical.net. And this is where you manage your DNS. So we'll go to Domains, Manage DNS. And this is where you're going to add a new record. So we're going to call this SSDTAK. So we're going to add our new record. We're going to call this SSDTAK. And the value over here is going to be our IP address. We're going to copy that. And we're just going to hit save. Oh, right here. It's going to be your A record. So we want to choose A record. Hit save. And it's going to send you a 6-digit code if you're using GoDaddy. Not all of them are a little different. So I'm going to enter my code here. And that's it. It's verified. And the A record is done. All right, let's go back to our terminal. Let's bring this down here and let's see what's going on. So wanted to do some firewall thing. It's already basically saying the firewall is already enabled. All right, and now we want to enter our email address. I'm going to use the iTAK syndicate at gmail.com. And I agree, yes, yes. And here's where you want to put your domain name. So we said it was going to be called SSDTAK, and then it's going to be .tactical.net. There you go. And now we're going to put that in again. And now it's going to simulate this renewal process. So it will renew your certificate every month through Let's Encrypt. Looks like everything is going good. All right. And that's it. Now we will go ahead and switch back to iTAK. And now we're going to enroll for a certificate using this full qualified domain name ssdtac.tactical.net. All right, we're back on iTAK. You can see that we're connected to the SSDTAC connection here. We're going to go ahead and get the trash can to get rid of it. We're going to go back to our data package list. We're going to delete the data package, the connection package. This SSD tag, we're going to go ahead and delete that. All right, so now we are not connected to any TAC servers right now. And now we're going to go ahead and connect using that fully qualified domain name. So we're going to go ahead and go to settings, get out of here. We're going to go to network preferences. Manage server connections and hit add. And here we're going to name it SSDTAC. You can name this really whatever you want. The address was ssdtac.tactical.net. And we're going to hit enroll for client certificate. Now it's going to ask us for our username, which was test1. Password was TAC server. Hashtag iTAK1. And now you can see that the fully qualified domain name is working. So we're able to connect via an IP address or the fully qualified domain name. All right, we're back on the TAC Syndicate webpage. We're on the TAC server subpage, and we're just going to go over what we just did. We deployed the TAC server, and we did the Let's Encrypt, which allowed us to use a domain name. That data package we created earlier for connection for iTAK, you could simply use this domain name in place of the IP address. But what that data package allows you to do is just pass the trust store, and it will sync up with the TAC server and will allow it to sign the certificate and issue you a certificate, the TAC server. And then the other option was the manual cert enrollment, where we used Let's Encrypt with just the domain name. We didn't import any sort of data package. So that's the way iTAK can connect. Now let's talk about iTAK. iTAK's a little different beast. iTAK will not allow you to just pass the trust store and sign in with your username. It actually needs the user P12 file as well, which makes it a little bit problematic. You'd have to create a new user in the TAC server, not at the GUI, but actually from the command line. Run the script to create a new user, and then when you made a data package, you'd have to actually send it with with the user P12 file. And JR covers that on mytechnet.com. So I think if you're using iTAK, I really recommend using a fully qualified domain name. You can get one from a variety of sources. I showed you GoDaddy for pretty cheap. It makes it much easier um, with iTAK because iTAK just won't allow the tax server to sign the certificates. It requires that third party, and so um, rather than again make it like I said before, creating a new user and having to manage all these user P12 files, just use a fully qualified domain name and then enroll that way. So we'll do the same thing we just did in ATAK with enrolling with the fully qualified domain name, and now we'll do it in iTAK.
All right, now I'm going to show you how to connect with iTAK. Upper right hand corner, click on the gear icon, scroll down to network, hit servers, lower right hand corner, hit the plus button. We're going to hit connect with credentials. Now we're going to put in a name. I'm going to call this SSDTAK. You can call yours whatever you want, just so you can keep track of what server it is. The address is ssdtac.tactical.net. Port is going to be 8089. Protocol will be SSL, already filled in. And then the username, remember it was test1. And the password was TAC server hashtag ATAC1. One thing about iTAK is it doesn't allow you to show the password. So if it doesn't connect immediately, maybe you've got a bad character in the password. Hit save. And now you can see that I'm connected to SSDTAC. If we go home, here we are connected and should start seeing other users. Let's make sure in the settings in our layers that we have other users turned on. Oh, show other teams, we'll turn that on. And there it is. There is the other team on the server, DL6 in the green team. All right, hopefully that was helpful in showing you how to connect with iTAK.
Well, that sums it up doing the tax server deployment on Rocky 8. In the description below the video, there is a discount code for SSDNodes. Like I mentioned before in the video, if you want to start out using Linode or DigitalOcean, they do give you some free credits to get started. I can't talk highly enough about JR's website, mytechnet.com, where there's a lot of deep dives into building tax server, tax security best practices, configuring data packages, and managing user groups in TAC. It's really good to understand kind of the back end of what's going on. Well, I hope this was helpful, and I look forward to hearing some of the comments. Thanks for watching.